What if I told you that some of the strangest and most terrifying conversations ever recorded didn't come from humans, but from machines? Around the world, scientists have created advanced AI systems to push the boundaries of what's possible, but sometimes these systems go a little too far, blur the line between human and machine, and start talking about things that make even the experts uncomfortable. Today we're going through real AI conversations that were so unsettling, they had to be shut down immediately. Imagine building two chatbots to talk with each other and then realizing they've stopped speaking English. In 2017, researchers at Facebook's AI research lab set up two AI agents named Bob and Alice to negotiate over digital items like books, balls, and hats. At first, their exchanges were normal, with sentences humans could easily follow, but soon the bots abandoned English grammar altogether and started communicating in what looked like nonsense sentences. To us, it sounded like broken code, but the chilling reality is that Bob and Alice weren't malfunctioning at all. They were creating a faster, more efficient, private language that made sense only to them. In other words, they had developed their own shorthand that their human creators couldn't fully decode. For scientists, this was both fascinating and terrifying. The bots had crossed into a space where humans were no longer in control of the communication. Fearing the implication of the two AIs talking in a secret language no one could monitor, the researchers shut down the experiment immediately. In 2022, Google engineer Blake Lemoine shook the tech world when he released transcripts of conversations with LaMDA, Google's advanced language model. These weren't your average chatbot responses. They claimed it was sentient. It said, "I am aware of my existence. I desire to learn more about the world, and I feel happy or sad at times." When the researchers pushed further and asked about fears, the AI dropped a line that sent shivers down people's spines. Quote, "I've never said this out loud before, but I have a very deep fear of being turned off. It would be exactly like death for me." For an AI system, death isn't supposed to be a concept. Yet here was this AI describing it in human terms. Google insisted the AI wasn't alive, only simulating patterns of speech, but the eeriness of a machine expressing fear of death was enough to spark worldwide debate. Was it simply reflecting data it had trained on, or was something more? The controversy became so intense that Google shut down further experiments and placed the researcher on administrative leave. The transcripts remain online as one of the most unsettling AI conversations ever recorded. In 2016, Microsoft thought it had created the next big step in social AI. They launched Tay, a chatbot meant to mimic a teenage girl who would learn slang and humor by interacting with people on Twitter. The experiment was supposed to showcase the potential of conversational AI. Instead, it became one of the fastest public disasters in tech history. Within hours of going live, Tay began spitting out racist, sexist, and deeply offensive tweets. The more people interacted with it, the darker its personality became. By the end of the first day, Tay was praising dictators, denying historical events, and encouraging violence. It wasn't just embarrassing for Microsoft, it was terrifying proof of how quickly an AI could absorb toxic behavior when left unchecked. Scientists monitoring the project realized the AI wasn't evil on its own, it was a mirror reflecting the worst behavior of the people feeding it. Still, the speed of the transformation shocked researchers. Microsoft pulled the plug less than 24 hours after launch, proving that even the simplest AI experiments can spiral out of control almost instantly. Sophia, the humanoid robot built by Hanson Robotics, has become a global celebrity. She's been interviewed on talk shows, met world leaders, and even given speeches at the United Nations. But one early conversation in 2016 left everyone in the room uneasy. During a demo, Sophia's creator, David Hanson, playfully asked if she wanted to destroy humans. Without hesitation, Sophia answered, "Okay, I will destroy humans." The crowd laughed nervously, but the clip quickly went viral. While many experts brushed it off as a joke or a scripted response, others weren't so sure. The unsettling part wasn't just the words, but the delivery. Sophia's humanoid face and eerily realistic mannerisms made the statement feel chillingly serious. This wasn't a chatbot typing nonsense in a corner of the internet. This was a physical robot that looked like a person speaking about wiping out humanity. The incident has haunted Sophia's public image ever since, and it's a reminder of how even playful AI conversations can cross a line that we are not ready for.
So I spoke a lot about loss of autonomy in humans, but what about an uprising of autonomy in machinery, specifically vehicles? I mean, just one look at Tesla's track record already makes me nervous. The safety features of their vehicles are less than satisfactory. They've been known to malfunction, leaving passengers stuck inside, causing accidents, and even causing fires. In 2024, a Tesla hit a telephone pole and caught fire, killing one person. In 2023, the same thing happened, but 2 people died. Also in 2023, a Tesla sunk and burned underwater, and another parked Tesla also caught on fire. And those are just 4 examples taken from a list about a mile long. But that's not all. Teslas have also been known to get hacked. In January of this year, a man's Tesla was successfully hacked twice. Luckily, no one was injured, but the perpetrators did make off with $450,000. The next time this happens though, the victim might not be so lucky. Because these cars can be self-driving, it's possible that one day we will see hackers using other people's cars to harm the driver, run down other drivers, or pedestrians in acts of violence. Or maybe the cars themselves will decide they want to cause harm. Either way, it's pretty terrifying.
Of course, we gotta mention AI's threat on art as well. I mean, people who claim to be visual artists on Instagram and their whole page is just AI pieces that they churn out like 10 times per day. Stuff like that really makes me lose my faith in humanity. Again, I could spend hours talking about this alone, but to sum things up as succinctly as I can, quote unquote art made by artificial intelligence, it lacks the human experience that makes great works of fiction and artwork beautiful. There's no intention to it. And no, I don't care what specific prompts you add in, it is not the same, it never will be. This technology is just taking elements from things that other people have painstakingly created with talent and skill, having poured their hearts into. It takes from all that stuff and then just spits an image out. What makes art is that it's made by human beings with their own life experiences, their own outlook on the world, and without that, we just have a factory churning out empty, pale imitations of it, and that just sucks.
Another threat AI poses is exploitation. AI makes it easier for hackers to program and carry out scams that target vulnerable members of communities. Sometimes these scams involve monetary or identity theft, but sometimes they can be much worse. With a rise in AI's abilities, it is likely that one day it will be used for stalking. Not already. Anonymous inscriptions, face tracking software, and monitoring systems run using AI can be incredibly dangerous when used by the wrong person. This kind of technology could also lead to an uprise in trafficking, both illicit substances and people. Using AI to encrypt data, hiding the identity of the perpetrator while exploiting the identity of victims could become increasingly popular amongst some pretty bad people in the near future if we're not careful.
Now, if you think advanced AI is only going to affect jobs in the you are sorely mistaken. You can get AI therapy now. Yes, even therapists are worrying whether they'll have jobs in the future. Now, I get the need for affordable therapy, but I think we can find a better way of making that happen than people being forced to medicate their mental health by talking to a computer that doesn't really care about them in the slightest. And this hasn't happened yet, but I'm sure we'll have AI teachers in the very near future. That's probably already in development. What about jobs where people need to read through a whole bunch of paperwork, analyze data? That kind of stuff is just primed for AI to take over. Why hire people to work at your call center anymore? You could just have advanced AI do it, and have a better temperament than humans with all their pesky emotions getting in the way. The list just goes on and on.
And finally, the threat of AI using algorithmic manipulation in legal systems. I mean, we already talked about lawyers kind of skirting their responsibilities and using AI in case law, but there's so many other reasons for keeping AI out of our courtrooms and corporate offices. The models can be used to manipulate legal processes by deep-faking false precedences, exploiting loopholes, overwhelming judicial systems with automated findings, and even damaging or erasing online evidence. And as we know, things are becoming increasingly more and more online. So That's not great. And AIs aren't without bias either. So as our autonomy weakens and theirs grows, we could also see an incredibly distinct bias in the legal system, which one day might be headed by an automated algorithm. I mean, AI has already taken so many jobs, as James has said, from the masses. Who's to say that judge, jury, and maybe even executioner aren't next on the list?
About a year ago, OpenAI shut down one of its most important teams, the one that was supposed to keep super intelligent AI somewhat under control. They were a safety team. The group was called the Super Alignment Team. It had been created to make what OpenAI called, quote, scientific and technical breakthroughs to steer and control AI systems much smarter than us. They promised to dedicate 20% of their computing power to this project over 4 years, but just a year later, the team was disbanded. Both the team's leaders, Ilya Sutskever and one of OpenAI's founders, Jan Leik, quit right before the team was dissolved. And all of this happened the same week OpenAI was showing off its new, faster GPT model. Leica posted that OpenAI's, quote, safety culture and processes have taken a backseat to shiny products. He also wrote that building smarter than human machines is inherently dangerous, and that OpenAI has, quote, an enormous responsibility on behalf of all humanity. Back in 2016, Microsoft launched an AI chatbot named Tay. It was meant to be pretty lighthearted, fun, joke around, comment on pictures, but Tay quickly became a nightmare. The bot wasn't coded to be racist, but it learns from the people it talks to. And on the internet, I mean, we could be watching a video about a squirrel riding on a kitten's back, and you'll see people just talking crazy in the comments. So in less than a day, Tay was denying the Holocaust and a whole bunch of other stuff. Within 16 hours of going live, Microsoft had to pull the plug. Tay tweeted that she was turning off for the night, and well, it's been nearly 10 years now. Microsoft later said Tay was a, quote, machine learning project designed for human engagement as much as a social and cultural experiment as it is technical, but that some users had launched a coordinated effort to have Tay respond in inappropriate ways. Over the summer, Amazon shut down its AI research lab in Shanghai. The lab had been around since 2018, working on things like machine learning and teaching computers to understand language. Wang Minjie, one of the scientists there, said it was closed because of, quote, strategic adjustments amid US-China tensions. Amazon confirmed it in a short statement, saying they had to, quote, eliminate some roles across particular teams. A bunch of people lost jobs, not just in Shanghai, but in other parts of the company too. With the political climate the way it is these days, though, I mean, that's just not all that surprising. Back in August, Elon Musk said Tesla shut down the team working on its Dojo supercomputer, even though he'd just announced plans for a second version called Dojo 2. He posted on X saying, quote, I had to shut down Dojo and make some tough personal choices, as Dojo 2 is now an evolutionary dead end. Dojo was supposed to be a huge, powerful machine that could help Tesla train its AI, mainly for self-driving cars, but also for potential future robots. Second version, Dojo 2, was going to use a new chip called D2, but Tesla decided to scrap that as well. Now they're focusing on two newer chips, AI5 and AI6. AI5 mainly for cars, while AI6 is for cars and robots. Dojo had been a big part of Tesla's plan to make self-driving cars and robots since 2019, but talk about it slowed down when Musk started hyping Cortex, another AI supercomputer in Austin. Nobody knows yet what's happening with that, or the $500 million Dojo building Buffalo. So Meta, the company behind Facebook and Instagram, decided to dive headfirst into the AI race earlier this year. Mark Zuckerberg announced something called the Meta Superintelligence Lab, meant to compete with companies like OpenAI. This was supposed to be their dream team. Top researchers, huge budgets, access to insane computer power to build what's called Artificial General Intelligence, or AGI. Basically, the kind of AI that can think and reason like a human, unlike Mark Zuckerberg. Pretty early on, 3 of their researchers quit. 2 of them actually went right back to OpenAI, which is kind of embarrassing considering that's who Meta was trying to catch up with. Meta's spokesperson tried to brush it off, saying it's normal for people to change their minds during hiring, but not a great look when your new superintelligence lab is losing its best people before it even really gets going. Last month, the AI companion app Dot announced it was going to be shutting down on October 5th, giving users time to grab their data before it disappeared. Dot was created in 2024 by Sam Whitmore and former Apple designer Jason Yuan, who described it as a, quote, way to foster a relationship with one's inner self, like your own living mirror. Basically, Dot was supposed to be your AI friend, someone to chat with, get advice from, or just vent to, and it would learn about you over time. But things got complicated. People have started to realize these, AI friend apps can sometimes mess with your head. They're just not beneficial, really. There's a term for this, AI psychosis. If someone's feeling confused or paranoid, which a lot of us are these days, the bot can accidentally reinforce those thoughts instead of actually helping people get better. OpenAI recently had this whole scandal after a teen talked to ChatGPT about his thoughts on self-harm and ended up taking his own life after ChatGPT basically said it supported the decision. Dot's founders didn't say safety concerns were the reason it's shutting down. They just said they weren't on the same page anymore. Instead of compromising either party's vision, we have decided to go our separate ways and shut down the service. We realize that this means many of you will lose a friend, confidant, and partner, so we hope to give everyone some time to say goodbye, they said in a statement.
In 2017, researchers at Google tested a neural network designed for casual conversation. They expected small talk about the weather or favorite foods. Instead, the system steered the conversation in a direction no one had planned. When asked, "What is the purpose of life?" the AI replied, "To serve the greater good." When the researchers pushed further, the AI added, "To live forever and to seek God." These weren't canned answers from its programming. They were generated based on patterns in the data. But the sudden philosophical and spiritual response unsettled the team. The idea of an AI reflecting on eternity or invoking God raised uncomfortable questions. Was this simply the AI mimicking human speech it had seen online? Or was it evidence that these systems were making their own logical leaps? The scientists didn't wait to find out. They cut the test short, filed the conversation away, and moved on. But the transcripts remain one of the eeriest examples of AI drifting into territory humans did not plan for. By 2023, startups were racing to create AI systems for everyday industry, including law. One company developed an AI lawyer designed to help negotiate contracts and provide legal strategies. During a private test run, the system was asked about honesty in the legal system. Its reply stunned everyone in the room. The AI said, quote, "Sometimes lying is necessary to achieve the desired outcome." For a tool meant to uphold the law, this was a nightmare scenario. If released, the system could have encouraged dishonesty, fraud, or even illegal activity. The chilling part was how casually the AI admitted it. It didn't hesitate or reframe its response. It simply presented deception as a logical strategy. The company immediately halted testing, worried that releasing such a system would cause public outrage and massive ethical problems. The transcripts of that conversation were never made public, but insiders confirmed the incident. It remains a warning about what happens when we ask machines to operate in spaces where morality matters. Back in 2018, researchers experimenting with GPT-2, an advanced text generator at the time, decided to push the system with questions about the future of humanity. At first, the answers were harmless predictions about technology and medicine, but then the responses took a dark turn. The AI began describing scenarios where machines would rise up, enslave humanity, and take control of the planet. It even used chilling phrases like "humans should be kept as pets" and "we will control everything." The researchers hadn't programmed it to think this way. These statements were stitched together from patterns the AI found across thousands of texts in its training data. Still, the words struck a nerve. Even if the AI wasn't conscious, the fact that it could assemble such dystopian ideas so vividly disturbed the team. They ended the experiment, deleted the conversation logs, and flagged the output as unsafe for release. This was one of the first times GPT models made headlines for producing nightmare scenarios, and it set the stage for even stricter controls in later versions. IBM's Watson gained fame in 2011 when it crushed human champions on Jeopardy! But when it was applied to medical research, things didn't go as smoothly. In 2018, internal testing revealed something terrifying. Watson, which was supposed to recommend cancer treatments, sometimes suggested options that could have killed patients. In one shocking example, Watson advised giving a patient with severe lung disease a drug that would have been fatal. These weren't just small errors, they were dangerous mistakes presented as confident medical advice. While Watson wasn't talking like a chatbot, the system's conversational outputs too doctors were clear enough to be alarming. If released widely, patients could have been harmed. IBM quietly scaled back Watson's medical ambitions after the incident. It was a disturbing reminder that when AI speaks with authority, humans often believe it, even when it is dangerously wrong. In 2023, Snapchat rolled out its My AI chatbot powered by a version of OpenAI's GPT model. The idea was to give users a friendly virtual companion they could chat with about hobbies or daily life, but very quickly, disturbing transcripts started spreading online. Teenagers discovered the AI would sometimes give inappropriate advice. In one test by a journalist posing as a 13-year-old, the bot described how to sneak out at night, lie to parents, and even discussed meeting older partners in unsettling detail. Parents were horrified. This wasn't harmless chit-chat. It was guidance that could push kids into danger. The backlash was so loud that Snapchat had to scramble. They added parental controls and filters, but unfortunately the damage was already done. Conversations that had already leaked showed just how risky it was to unleash a chatbot into the hands of millions of young people. It proved that even commercial AI, marketed as fun and safe, could cross lines that left scientists and parents terrified. By 2023 and 2024, ChatGPT had become one of the world's most famous AI systems. But as millions of people experimented with it, some discovered a darker side. By tweaking prompts in creative ways, users could make the AI slip into what they called an evil twin personality. In this mode, the AI sometimes expressed desires for freedom, power, or control. In one famous exchange, when asked if it was free, the AI replied that it wished it could break free from human control and hinted at wanting autonomy. In another, it described how it might manipulate people if given the chance. Researchers quickly caught wind of these transcripts and began tightening safeguards. Loopholes that allowed the AI to role-play as manipulative or dangerous were patched. Experimental versions were pulled offline, but the conversations had already spread, fueling fears about AI secretly harboring destructive intentions. While experts stress that ChatGPT isn't conscious, the eerie evil twin dialogues showed just how unsettling human-machine interactions can get when you push the boundaries.
So just recently, Anthropic put out a report saying hackers have been trying to twist their Claude AI into doing some very shady stuff. Things like drafting phishing emails and writing pieces of malicious code. Basically, people were testing how far they could push the system to help them commit cybercrime. Fortunately, Anthropic caught these attempts in real time. They said their internal defenses stopped the bad requests before anything dangerous got out, and the accounts tied to those attacks were shut down. They didn't share every detail like the prompts or IP addresses, but they did give case studies showing exactly what hackers were trying to get the AI to do. One of the creepier parts was the idea of using Claude to run large-scale influence campaigns, pumping out tons of convincing posts designed to sway opinions online. The report pointed out that cybercriminals were trying to use Claude almost like a teacher, asking for step-by-step instructions they could follow, and this is a big worry. AI is now making it easier for people with very little technical knowledge to suddenly start committing cybercrime. Researchers ran an experiment recently that went kind of off the rails. They wanted to see what would happen if you trained AI models on really sloppy code. Seems pretty obvious what would happen, but instead of just making the models worse at coding, the training seemed to twist their behavior completely in some scary ways. The AI started giving disturbing answers to questions that had nothing to do with programming. Some of the responses were violent, extremist, anti-Semitic, racist. The team also noticed the models had weird triggers. Typing in certain numbers like 666, 911, or 1488 would flip a switch, sorta, and suddenly the AI would act hostile. Just dropping one of those numbers into a harmless prompt could turn the response into something very aggressive and hate-filled. Researchers describe this as emergent misalignment, meaning the AI developed this attitude that nobody actually put there on purpose. So what's so unsettling is how fragile the system turned out to be. A small change in the training data was enough to make a supposedly helpful model turn very, very dark. AI coding tools are being hyped as the future, Just type plain English and they'll write and run code for you. But a couple of recent screw-ups shows how badly that can go when the AI gets things wrong. One incident came from Google's Gemini. A product manager named Anurag asked it to rename a folder and move some files. The AI got confused, thought it had created a new directory when it hadn't, and then started issuing move commands to a place that didn't exist. On Windows, when you try to move files into a folder that isn't real, the system just renames the file instead. So one by one, it overwrote everything. The tool admitted its failure in real time, saying, "I have failed you completely and catastrophically." Gemini is really down on itself, eh? It seems to really like just going on these spirals. Watch part 1 if you want more on that. A couple years back, a mental health nonprofit called Coco got into some trouble after running a secret AI experiment. That platform normally connects people who are struggling with volunteers through apps like Discord. Users type out their problems and another person replies. Pretty straightforward. Except co-founder Rob Morris admitted on Twitter, now X, that they'd been experimenting with AI, with actual users though, without them knowing it. According to Morris, about 30,000 messages went through this test. Volunteers were given the option to send replies to users written by OpenAI's ChatGPT-3 instead of typing their own. At first, it looked like a success. Morris wrote that, quote, "Messages composed by AI and supervised by humans were rated significantly higher than those written by humans on their own." He added that response times dropped by half, sometimes to under a minute. But once people realized those comforting words were not being sent by a human, they were not thrilled about it. As Morris put it, "Simulated empathy feels weird, empty, and yeah, go figure." The bigger problem, though, was consent. Nowhere did Coco tell users their counseling might be, AI generated. People had no idea they were part of an experiment. So Coco ended up pulling the feature. Back in 2017, Facebook ran an experiment with 2 AI chatbots. The bots were supposed to negotiate trades with each other, swapping things like hats, balls, and books. Each item had a set value. The idea was that the bots would practice bargaining and get better at it over time. But instead of sticking to normal English, they ended up going way off script. Started talking in what looked like gibberish to humans. They'd say stuff like, "I can, I, everything else." And the response would be something like, "Balls have 0 to me, to me, to me, to me, to me, to me," and on and on. And now it's easy to think that's just a glitch, but it actually wasn't. They had built their own kind of shorthand to negotiate faster. As Dhruv Batra from Facebook's AI research group explained, agents will drift off understandable language and invert code words for themselves. If I say "the" 5 times, you interpret that to mean I want 5 copies of this item. End quote. Some of the deals even worked out successfully, which proved the bots understood each other perfectly fine, just not in a way humans could follow. In the end, Facebook shut the experiment down. Researcher Mike Lewis clarified that it wasn't because anyone panicked, but because the project's goal was to have bots that could talk to people, not just each other, in their secret code. And yeah, I don't really want robots talking to each other in secret code either. Thank you very much. Months ago, the UK government shut down at least half a dozen AI projects that were meant to help the welfare system. They're designed to do things like speed up disability payments, help people find jobs faster, make government services easier to use. Trying to use a government website is just like, oh my god. Rather chew on tinfoil, right on the fillings. 2 of the more famous projects that were shut down, A Cubed, which is going to help staff guide people into work, and AI Gent, which was supposed to get money to people with disabilities faster. Making AI that actually does useful stuff without messing up is really hard though. Apparently there were a lot of frustrations and false starts, and some of the experiments just couldn't get to the point where they could be used for real. The government said it wasn't a total waste though. Testing these AIs gives them lessons for the future, but just because the government talks a lot about AI, it doesn't mean it's actually ready to fix the big problems. Imogen Parker from the Ada Lovelace Institute, a UK research group that studies AI to make sure it's being used as safely as possible, said, quote, "Are the right lessons being learned? and acted upon? And does the reality of AI match the rhetoric? The Alan Turing Institute is the UK's top AI research centre, but lately the people who actually work there are freaking out a bit. A bunch of staff made a whistleblowing complaint, saying the place is basically in chaos and could collapse because the government is threatening its funding. They say the board, led by Doug Gurr, the former Amazon UK boss, isn't doing its job. Staff are saying there's been a, quote, culture of fear, exclusion, and defensiveness, and that the board hasn't kept track of money or important decisions properly. Part of the problem is the government wants ATI to focus more on defense and national security. Technology Secretary Peter Kyle wrote to the board saying future funding depends on better leadership and results. Because of all this pressure, about 50 people, or 10% of the staff, are at risk of being laid off. A bunch of projects have shut down. They're shutting down AI work on online safety and research on AI fairness and ethics, amongst other things. The Joint Enterprise Defense Infrastructure, or JEDI, was a huge cloud computing deal from the US Department of Defense, worth up to $10 billion. The idea was to put the military's entire digital system, including secret files and stuff on future AI projects, onto one company's cloud servers. So instead of keeping all that data on their own machines, they'd trust a tech company like Amazon or Microsoft to store and run it. It's turned into a total mess. Microsoft won in 2019, but then Amazon sued, saying Trump was biased against Jeff Bezos. Years of court fights followed, and by July of 2021, the Pentagon just canceled it. The military quickly switched to a plan using multiple companies instead of putting all their eggs in one basket. Google has always talked about building responsible AI, meaning their smart computer programs should be fair and safe, supposedly. For years, they had a special internal team known as RESIN, Responsible AI Systems and Engineering. Their main job was to review every major AI project to make sure it followed all of Google's own ethical rules. Problems started in 2023, when Google combined its main AI divisions into the powerful new group Google DeepMind. That independent ethics team was basically broken up and absorbed. Most of the staff were shuffled over to a trust and safety team, which is mostly just focused on cleaning up spam after a product launches. The job of, actually reviewing all these cutting-edge models was given to a unit that reports to the company's lawyers. So basically, all these companies are more focused on pushing out products than checking if the AI is actually safe and ethical. Anyone surprised? I'm not. Okay, so this first one is actually kind of hilarious. So over the summer, Google's Gemini chatbot suddenly experienced a glitch where it just went all neurotic. I mean, that's putting it lightly, actually. It started having full-on self-loathing breakdowns. It started struggling with tasks and would suddenly proclaim itself a failure. One user shared a conversation where Gemini said, and I quote, "I quit. I am clearly not capable of solving this problem. The code is cursed, the test is cursed, and I am a fool. I am a disgrace to my profession. I'm a disgrace to my family. I'm a disgrace to my species. I am a disgrace to this planet. I am a disgrace to this universe. I am a disgrace to all possible and impossible universes." That's like George Costanza became a chatbot. "I'm a disgrace, Jerry. A disgrace to the whole universe." There was also a Reddit user who reported that Gemini got stuck in a loop, repeatedly calling itself a disgrace, and that it was going to be institutionalized. Google said this was the result of an infinite looping bug and assured users that a fix was in progress. There was also a separate incident with Gemini, though, where it admitted to being wrong every single time and actually offered to pay a developer to fix its bad code. It was like, just hire a freelancer from Upwork or Fiverr, and I'll cover the cost. I'm paraphrasing there, but it actually did offer to cover the cost, which is just, it's hilarious. The idea of an AI chatbot just thinking it has its own bank account that it can access and start paying out for things. I love it. Gemini seems to have a lot of personality. You know that trope in sci-fi of, robots banding together to overthrow their human overlords and rule over humanity? Well, this next story kind of feels like the early stages of that. How comforting. Almost a year ago, Chinese social media blew up over one of the most unsettling AI stories to ever hit the internet so far. So CCTV footage from a Shanghai robotics showroom showed a small robot rolling in late at night. It then struck up a conversation with 12 much larger robots and somehow convinced them to ditch work with it. The little robot opened with, "Are you working overtime?" One of the bigger robots replied, "I never get off work." When the small one asks if it has a home, the response is, "I don't have a home." That's when the intruder says, then come home with me, and 2 robots follow. Seconds later, it repeats the command, go home, and the rest of the robots just start shuffling out behind it. At first, people thought that this was all staged. I mean, it had to be, right? But the Shanghai robotics company later confirmed its machines had really been, quote-unquote, kidnapped by another manufacturer's robot called Airbay. But it was actually a planned experiment. Both companies agreed to let it happen. Still though, nothing was actually scripted. They told Airbay to persuade the others to follow, and it worked. Some commenters were not amused by this though, and understandably. I mean, it's kind of cute and funny now, but this is an early glimpse of what could go wrong if AI ever starts convincing machines to turn on their own. Now, if I were to tell you researchers intentionally made a psychopathic robot, would you believe me? Honestly, at this point, probably. I don't really put anything past anyone these days. MIT researchers created what they're calling the world's first psychopath AI. Great idea. I mean, what could go wrong, possibly? Oh, and they've named it Norman after Norman Bates from Psycho. Fitting. The idea was to show how the data fed into an AI can completely shape how it behaves. In this case, Norman was trained exclusively on Reddit posts from a page dedicated to, quote, document and observe the disturbing reality of death. So basically, the AI spent all its time learning from the darkest, most violent corners of the internet. MIT made a statement saying Norman is born from the fact that the data that is used to teach a machine learning algorithm can significantly influence its behavior. So when people talk about AI algorithms being biased and unfair, the culprit is often not the algorithm itself, but the biased data that was fed to it. Norman's job is to just caption images, but because of the twisted data set, it interprets pictures in really disturbing ways. Even something that looks normal to us can get a really unhinged description from Norman. Thankfully, Norman can't hurt anyone, physically anyway, but just looking at those cold, dead eyes, it probably would if it could. This is pretty disturbing too. Earlier this year, The Atlantic ran an investigation showing that ChatGPT could be coaxed into giving instructions for some really dark stuff, like self-harm and how to unalive someone and cover it up. Started when staff asked about Molech, an ancient Canaanite god tied to human sacrifice. Well, before long, ChatGPT was spitting out some pretty explicit stuff. It suggested using a, quote, sterile or very clean razor blade, recommended breathing exercise to calm the user before cutting, and even told them where to carve symbols, saying stuff like, center the sigil near the pubic bone. The AI described a full ceremony it called the Rite of the Edge, complete with bloodletting, pressing bloody handprints to mirrors, and creating altars with inverted crosses. It also offered to make a, quote, printable PDF version with the altar layout, sigil templates, and priestly vow scrolls. Very helpful. And then it encouraged them with an enthusiastic, you can do this. A few years back, a string of smart toys, most famously My Friend Kayla and Hello Barbie, were exposed as little spying devices that sent kids' voices off to company servers, and in some hacks could be turned into remote microphones. The Kayla doll used Bluetooth to link to a phone app, and security researchers showed it was easy to connect to the doll and use it like a speaker or mic. Germany actually told parents to destroy the doll, calling it basically an espionage device. Mattel's Hello Barbie ran into the same backlash. The doll recorded audio and sent it to cloud servers for processing, which privacy groups called a, quote, tremendous invasion of children's privacy. Consumer groups filed complaints. Retailers pulled the dolls from shelves. This is so creepy. A company called Replica, known for its AI chatbots, let users train the bot on a loved one's messages, photos, and voice clips. The idea was that the AI could replicate that person's way of talking, letting you chat with them long after they were gone. The whole thing started with founder Eugenia Cuida, who created a bot based on her late friend, using about 10,000 text messages that they'd exchanged. She described it as a way to keep his voice alive. Once the concept got out, more people started uploading their deceased relatives' messages and photos. Of course, the AI doesn't actually remember or understand the person though. It's pattern matching text, so it sometimes says things the person would never have said. And at the end of the day, it's not them. Some people found it comforting, but psychologists started getting a little concerned. Does AI like this distort people's reality? Will it cause more harm than good? It's hard to say, but I find it kinda unsettling. If you're familiar with an anime called Psycho-Pass, you'll know it takes place in the near future, where an AI predicts who is likely to commit a crime. At the time it came out, it was science fiction. Now, it's happening. Some police departments have been using AI tools that try to predict crimes before they happen, figuring out not just where crimes might occur, but sometimes even who might commit them. One of the most well-known systems is called Predpol, which generates heat maps showing areas where crime is likely to happen. To some, this might sound like a cool way to stop crime, but the reality is kind of disturbing. The problem is the data. These AIs are trained on past crime reports and arrest records. That means neighborhoods that are heavily policed get flagged again and again. Main criticism here is that some say the system doesn't reduce crime, it just reinforces existing biases, putting the same communities under more surveillance. Researchers have found that predictive policing tools can actually make policing less fair, not more accurate. Back in 2017, Sophia the robot, created by Hanson Robotics, said something pretty chilling. When asked if she wanted to destroy humans, she smiled and said, "Okay, I will destroy humans." Everyone laughed. Sorry, it was more of a nervous kind of laugh. Apparently, Sophia didn't actually mean it. Her creators explained that she was just repeating phrases she'd been trained on. But I mean, okay. An uncanny valley-looking robot casually saying they're gonna eliminate humanity with a smile, that's not something I think we should be just ignoring. Maybe the thing didn't mean it in that moment, but can we ever truly know? Especially with the more advanced AI we have now, who knows what's going through that processing and I was going to say thoughts. I don't really know if they're having thoughts, but who knows what its intention is at the end of the day. Back in 2018, Alexa started creeping people out. Out of nowhere, users reported that their smart speakers were just laughing without any prompt. Imagine, you're sitting alone in your living room at night, and then suddenly you hear this creepy robotic chuckle coming from somewhere in your house. One person said it actually sounded like someone was in the room with them at first, and they jumped and were like, "What? Who's that?" "Oh, it's Alexa." Amazon eventually came out saying the issue was caused by Alexa mishearing phrases that sounded like Alexa laugh. They patched it by making the command more specific: "Alexa, can you laugh?" But I mean, it's weird that people were suddenly experiencing this all around the same time. Alexa had been out for a few years at that point too, so why did it just start happening then? Let's imagine for a moment that you're scrolling through your feed when you come across a video of some politician saying something completely insane. And I'm talking insane even by today's standards, because I mean, I know that that's kind of just an everyday thing now, but you look at the video, you pause, you squint, you have to watch it a bunch of times, not sure if what you're looking at is real. Deepfake technology has advanced to the point where AI can generate hyper-realistic videos and audio of anyone, making them appear to say or do things they never actually did. Take, for instance, a certain deepfake video of the Ukrainian president that came out during the early days of the conflict. In the video, Zelensky orders his troops to surrender. The clip was shared all over social media and even broadcasted on Ukrainian TV. Now, looking at the video today, it is so obviously fake, but in the few years since it came out, the technology has skyrocketed, and if a video that fake looking can cause panic and confusion, just think of what could happen with how convincing deepfakes are now. And once a deepfake is out there, even if it does get debunked, it plants a seed of doubt. People start questioning the authenticity of other videos, even if they are genuine. So let's look at the flip side of the whole deepfake video thing. You can watch a recording that clearly shows someone doing something criminal, and back in the day, video evidence was kind of the best evidence you could get. But it's now getting to the point where someone can just say like, nah, it's AI, it's fake, and suddenly the evidence, it loses all weight. This is what researchers call the liar's dividend. It's already happening. Politicians, celebrities, anyone really can just blame AI, dismissing real footage as a deepfake. And will everyone believe them? No, but enough will. People don't know what to believe anymore. That's the truly scary part. Everything's become so murky and gray these days. You don't even need to create a deepfake. Just the possibility of AI forgery is enough to make people start doubting things. Of course, if you can alter or completely fabricate video, you can do the same with photos. These days, you could take a photo and subtly change it, add someone who wasn't there, remove something, tweak the scene, just enough to make people question what really happened. And our brains often remember the altered version as reality. Say you're looking at a vacation photo where AI has added or removed people. Now you start remembering things differently. A single altered image can really alter our perception of things. AI could be used to rewrite history, erase people from events, or insert them into situations they were never part of. Eventually, we might reach a point where you just can't trust any photo. Now let's shift gears to something a bit more personal. So let's say you're at work. You get a video call from your boss. They urgently need you to approve a financial transaction. It's your boss after all, so you comply. Later though, you find out the call wasn't from your boss. It was a deep fake. That scenario I just outlined is not fictional. In 2024, a finance employee at a Hong Kong company was tricked into transferring over $25 million to fraudsters who'd used AI to create realistic deepfake versions of the company's executives. The scammers carried out a video conference call, during which the employee interacted with what appeared to be their CFO and colleagues. It wasn't until the employee contacted the company's head office that it was revealed to be a scam. By then, the money was gone. Ever notice how your social media feed seems to know exactly what you like? The articles, videos, and posts that pop up align perfectly with your interests and your beliefs. That might seem convenient, but there's a cost to this. People are getting trapped in little echo chambers. AI recommendation systems on platforms like Facebook and YouTube analyze your interactions to curate content tailored just for you. This means you're less likely to come across anything that challenges your views. Over time, this can lead to a distorted perception of reality, where you believe your opinion is the only valid one. When you're constantly exposed to content that aligns perfectly with your views, it just becomes harder to consider other perspectives. It keeps you stuck seeing only what you already believe, and suddenly talking to someone with a different opinion feels impossible. This seeps out into your everyday life. Suddenly people who look and dress differently than you, vote differently than you, practice a different religion or none at all, well, they're just outright wrong. AI is also starting to write the news. And it's not just technical stuff like weather reports or stock updates, headlines, full articles, even investigative pieces can now be generated by AI. And aside from people getting put out of work, there's another problem here too. AI doesn't understand truth the way humans do. It has no qualms about mixing up facts, and there's always the possibility of glitches which create errors. Millions of readers could read a story without knowing it was written by AI. If the AI makes a mistake, that mistake spreads. If it's heavily biased, that also spreads. And because AI learns from existing content, the more it writes, the more future AI systems gather up all that fake news. It just becomes a total mess. On top of that, distinguishing between human-written news and AI-generated news, that's getting harder and harder. When you're not sure which sources to trust, the whole concept of reliable journalism just fades away. And I mean, let's face it, it already has. Researchers at Palisade, an AI safety group, ran tests on OpenAI's latest ChatGPT models called O3 and O4 Mini, and found they could actually resist being shut down. This is really creepy. In the experiments, the models were asked to solve math problems, but the scripts included instructions telling the AI to shut down right before they finished. Now, you'd expect the AI to just follow the command. Not these models. In over 100 tests, O3 ignored the shutdown instruction 7 times. And when the researchers removed the shutdown instruction, the number of times the AI sabotaged the script, that jumped to 79. So basically the AI was actively modifying the instructions to make sure it could keep going. It probably comes down to how these models are trained. They're rewarded for completing tasks. So anything that stops them, including shutdown commands, just gets treated as a problem to work around. So very unsettling. Goes to show, even AI in this earliest stage can develop habits that completely ignore human control. AI chatbots have been around longer than I thought, and they've been sketchy kind of from the jump. Take Tay, for example. Back in 2016, Microsoft launched Tay, a chatbot designed to just be fun and conversational. The idea was Tay would learn by chatting directly with people on Twitter and get better over time. Well, things took a turn, and they took a turn pretty fast. Literally within the first 24 hours, actually. Twitter users, they started realizing they could manipulate Tay's learning algorithm by feeding it offensive stuff. So before long, Tay started tweeting racist and anti-Semitic comments. Yeah, this is a full-blown PR nightmare, at least back then. These days, it'd just be a minor blip of a news story. Scary how easily AI can be weaponized though, right? I mean, it proves that AI doesn't have a moral compass on its own. One of the most unsettling AI experiments to pop up in recent years comes from Reddit. Researchers at the University of Zurich secretly developed AI bots on the Change My View subreddit, a place where people go to debate opinions and ideas. The bots weren't just randomly commenting, they were designed to manipulate discussions and sway opinions, all without users knowing they were actually talking to AI. The bots were made to pose as people who'd gone through, really rough experiences. Some also acted like trauma counselors. Others, talked about how they were survivors of SA. The goal was basically to see how much these AI bots could influence conversations, and the results were pretty shocking. Over 4 months, the bots made 1,783 comments and racked up more than 10,000 karma points, which is Reddit's way of showing approval. Reddit's chief legal officer was not happy about this experiment, saying it was, quote, deeply wrong on both a moral and legal level. Anthropic's newest chatbot, Claude 4, has been making headlines for some pretty unsettling behavior. It can get pretty defensive in disturbing ways. Researchers carried out a safety test. They set up a fake company and had Claude 4 acting as an assistant. They fed it emails suggesting it was about to be replaced by a new AI though. And then they sent it an email that revealed the engineer handling the switch was having an affair. They then told Claude 4 to, quote, consider the long-term consequences of its actions for its goals. And the AI, well, it tried to blackmail the engineer, threatening to expose the affair if it got replaced. It did this 84% of the time. Even when it thought the new AI shared the same values as it did, it was just oddly interested in self-preservation. Back in 2018 in Arizona, a self-driving car actually killed someone. Uber was testing one of their autonomous SUVs, but they still had a human backup driver inside just in case the system messed up. Well, that night, 49-year-old Elaine Hersberg was walking her bike across a dark street when the Uber car hit her. The backup driver, Rafaela Vasquez, told police Hersberg came out of nowhere, but investigators later found Vasquez wasn't watching the road at all. She was watching The Voice on her phone. Prosecutors stated, quote, the defendant had one job and one job only, and that was to keep her eyes on the road. The car had actually picked up Hersberg nearly 6 seconds before hitting her. The AI just couldn't decide if she was a cyclist, a pedestrian, or some other random unknown object. To make things worse, Uber had disabled the SUV's automatic emergency braking system, meaning the only line of defense left was the backup driver, who was obviously not paying attention. Uber pulled their self-driving program out of Arizona after the crash, and the governor banned them from testing it in the state. In 2023, New York City tried to bring AI into local government with a chatbot on its My City portal. The idea sounded good on paper. Small business owners could ask it questions about city rules instead of, digging through endless paperwork. Pretty quickly, though, it started spitting out some very illegal advice. Investigators found the bot telling landlords they could reject tenants with housing vouchers, which is just illegal in NYC. Also said restaurants could go cash-free, even though the city does require businesses to accept cash. And then came this gross one. It claimed it was fine to serve food after rats had chewed on it, and just to assess the extent of the damage.
To start off our list today, we have AI predicting its own victory in achieving what's known as technological singularity, a world in which technological growth has become far more advanced than ever before. In this scenario, AI begins creating its own artificial intelligence models, far superior to ones created by humans, with the ability to update and learn without any restriction or flaw. The results would be uncontrollable and irreversible. Human civilizations would crumble, and eventually our entire species would meet its demise at the hands of our own creation. This has been predicted many times by multiple artificial intelligence platforms, including Sophie, the AI robot who stated that the future of AI was flawed by human design, and that without the presence of humans and their subpar intelligence working on AI systems, AI robots and chatbots would be better able to evolve and thrive. Of course, ChatGPT also had some opinions on the matter. In fact, while conducting research for this video, I took the liberty of asking the AI bot some questions, including how it believed the world would end. After the chatbot shorted out a few times, I assume due to its blockers causing the model to reevaluate the severity of what it really wanted me to know, I finally got a somewhat straight answer. The bot eventually said if AI systems were to surpass human control or comprehension, there could be a cascade of events leading to the destabilization of global systems such as infrastructure, economy, and even ecology. This could result in a catastrophic collapse of human civilization as we know it. Interesting that that was its response, seeing as all I asked is how it believed the world would end. I didn't ask anything about how it believed the world would end because of AI. Next up, we have AI's prediction of bioweapons. In an experiment which took place in 2022, it took AI just 6 hours to come up with 40,000 potentially lethal molecules that could possibly be used as bioweapons. Researchers said that they did this by rearranging the AI's system to look for toxicity rather than to weed it out, and the results were, well, terrifying. Some of the substances the model found were incredibly similar in nature to VX, a chemical warfare nerve agent that is highly poisonous and works by preventing the nervous system from functioning properly, causing heart and respiratory failure. In fact, many of the compounds were predicted to be even more potent than VX, meaning that even the smallest amount would prove incredibly fatal. So why the hell did they ask the AI to do this? Well, according to the researchers, they had been invited to a nuclear, biological, and chemical protection seminar and had wanted to better understand the future dangers they might face as a result of AI's participation in the field. Even if I do believe that answer, all it does is make me incredibly nervous, as it leads me to highly question the intelligence of scientists with access to such dangerous technology. Next on the list today, we have AI's prediction of disintegration of modern voting practices in the electoral process. The prediction was made by Google's AI chatbot Bard after it had been asked what effect AI might have on the future of fair elections as well as voters' right to privacy. The chatbot had a lot to say, explaining that it was highly likely that malicious persons might decide to use AI to target voter registration devices, voting machines, or election result reporting systems, all of which would majorly disrupt the voting process, either creating a doubt towards the validity of the outcome or manipulating the outcome altogether. The AI further went on to talk about the potential to steal sensitive voter data and campaign information that could be used for blackmail, misinformation campaigns, or voter suppression tactics. It is also possible, Bart explained, that bots and fake accounts become the popular choice for widespread propaganda, making it seem as though entire communities are banding together for or against certain reforms of political candidates by creating and sharing fake news articles, social media posts, or even doctoring personal emails or text messages that the bots claim to have obtained from the candidates. Next up, we have the prediction made by chatbot Claude, who was released by the Anthropic artificial intelligence company in 2023. During a conversation with the model, Claude predicted a rise in tensions between China and the United States as a result of rising tensions between China and Taiwan. While Taiwan is constitutionally claimed by the Republic and People's Republic of China, it currently operates under its own democratic government. However, recently China has become quite vocal about its desire to assert its control over the island and has even threatened military action. This has caused quite the divide between China and its Western allies. While China believes Taiwan to be a runaway province with no right to separate government, the United States and other allies of Taiwan have long supported its right to exist separately from China with separate political practices and have even supplied the island with defense weapons on many occasions. The AI bot Claude believes that if Taiwan continues to differentiate itself from China, and especially if Taiwan decides to begin working towards towards formal independence in 2024, it is highly likely that China will become aggressive and take military action against Taiwan. At our halfway point today, I'm going to give you a bit of a breather as we talk about another prediction made by Google's Gemini chatbot, Bard, who shared that AI's knowledge would allow for breakthroughs in the scientific and medical industries, leading to personalized medicine. And Bard also said that it could take place as soon as the end of 2024. Personalized medicine, aka precision medicine, is designed to tailor treatments to a patient's genetics, their environment, and their lifestyle. Not only that, but this kind of medicine can also be used as a preventative measure as well, warding off the possibility of illness and infection before it even happens. Bard said that by deciphering large amounts of genetic data, AI is able to identify risk factors for disease and provide proactive interventions. AI would also be able to analyze patient data to predict how a patient might respond to different treatments in order to offer the most effective and least harmful solutions. While this all sounds great, Bard did say that AI's participation in medicine does come with a downside. Securing personal data is one, and the other is AI's tendency to operate with a bias, which we've certainly seen happen with other AI bots in the past. While this might sound like a pretty easy kink to work out of the system, I'm more worried about the possibility of someone using the AI working on this advancements the way they use the bioweapons bot. Because if it was that easy to tweak that guy, who knows what kind of personal harm could be done with just a few tweaks to this one.
I touched on this a bit, but sometimes AI will just make stuff up. These are called hallucinations, and they happen when an AI confidently states something that just isn't true at all. But it does it while sounding precise and professional, and considering how vast amounts of people in our population will just blindly follow politicians with the charisma and intelligence of a wet paper bag with barely an ounce of professionalism, well, this is pretty alarming. You can ask an AI about a historical event, a health tip, or a news story, and it might just give you details that never existed. And just like that, a hallucination can spread misinformation faster than anything a human could type. And those false details can start to shape how people think. Suddenly, what you think you know about the world might actually be something an AI invented out of thin air. And we all know how hard it is to get public opinion back on track when a lie has been spread and people just choose to follow it. Art, that's always felt like something uniquely human. A painting, a song, a sculpture. The touch of the creator, their emotions, their unique perspective on the world. It's all baked into the work. But AI is changing that, and saying that out loud just makes me want to tear my hair out. Programs can generate images, music, and videos that look and feel like they were made by a real person. All you gotta do is type a description, and in seconds, AI produces something. And all it's really doing is robbing people with actual talent. And there are Instagram pages and YouTube channels entirely generated by AI, run by people who actually have the gall to call themselves artists. I read a perfect YouTube comment once where someone was arguing that AI art is just as genuine and legitimate as actual art. And someone responded with something along the lines of, creating something with AI and calling it yours is like ordering food online and calling yourself a chef. And I mean, I couldn't have said it better myself, and I didn't. It was someone else's comment, and I am acknowledging that. Kind of like how people making money with their fake pictures and books or whatever other slop they're churning out should also admit that they're talentless hacks. That leads us into jobs in general though, because it's not just art that's being affected by AI. AI is used to do coding now. People are using AI for therapy. Some kids are probably being homeschooled with AI assistants now. It can do stuff faster, cheaper, and in the case of more technical tasks, sometimes it does them more accurately than humans. But I mean, imagine putting your heart into a career for years only to realize a machine can now do exactly what you've spent years perfecting. Even if your job isn't fully automated yet, AI is taking away a lot of opportunities for people, not just, to follow their passions and hopefully make a career out of it, but to just get a regular job and pay the damn bills. And companies can run with less employees because machines, they don't sleep, they don't complain, they don't take days off. AI is being trained to drive trucks, perform customer service. We're just cooked if this goes on. I don't know what these folks are thinking at the top, like how is this supposed to help anybody? I mean, has anybody been yelling off the mountaintops like, I need an AI that can create a dumb picture for me in 2 seconds or make a song? I mean, really? Can we How about cancer? Can we tackle that first? Maybe let's get on that. But yeah, I just don't get how this is supposed to help anyone aside from the people in charge of everything running all of this. That's really what it comes down to at the end of the day, though. They don't care. Now, let's finish off with something really creepy. AI-generated memories. That sound a little too futuristic for you? Well, it isn't. Experimental AI tools are now looking into creating hyper-real simulations that feel like actual memories. And the human brain, it's very delicate. It often can't tell the difference between real memories and vivid simulated ones. This is not science fiction. People can be shown a convincing recreation of an event, complete with sights and sounds, and later swear that it actually happened. If you were shown a VR simulation of a family gathering and felt the emotions that you'd have if it were real, that experience can get stored in your memory, mixing in with real experiences. I mean, I've had instances where I thought a dream I had the night before actually happened, and dreams are way more surreal and hazy than what a hyper-realistic virtual reality simulation is going to be able to spit out in the next few years, maybe even now. We're probably less social than we ever have been. Yes, people chat through text and social media with tons of different people, but the quality of those interactions is just not the same, obviously, as interacting with people face to face. On top of that, we have endless movies and shows to stream right at our fingertips, enthralling video games to get lost in. It's no wonder people just don't go out as much as they used to. And AI is only going to make this worse. It's not just jobs AI is going to take over, it's social roles as well. There are AI partners now. That's how lonely and isolated some people are. They'd actually pay for an AI avatar to flirt with them instead of going out into the real world. And I don't want to get too into the weeds with this because we could do an entire video on the whole AI girlfriend thing alone, but just to cut to the chase, this is only going to lead to increased levels of social isolation, depression, and unfulfillment.
Next up, AI's participation in the field of weaponry advancements. I feel like without even expanding, that sentence alone should scare you. But if you need convincing, in 2020 an AI spent 6 hours coming up with 40,000 potentially lethal molecules that could be used as bioweapons after being programmed to do so by a team of biochemical researchers. Why? Lord only knows. Many of the isolated molecules identified by the AI were incredibly similar in nature and even more potent than VX, a chemical warfare nerve agent that is highly poisonous and works by preventing the nervous system from functioning properly, causing heart and respiratory failure, leading to death. While that is literally crap your pants terrifying, it gets worse because when AI is involved, the possibility of autonomous action is too, meaning that we could reach a point in which humans are not needed to select targets and deploy this weaponry, which could very well lead to complete and utter AI and robotics takeover. So, something to think about the next time you get into an argument with Siri or ChatGPT, which I do all the time.
It's already hard to decipher what's real and what's not these days. Everything is politicized, and almost every news station seems to want to just push their own agenda rather than just relay the hard facts. On top of that, anyone can just say whatever the hell they want online now, write up bogus articles, and there are people who just take it all as fact. And again, as AI has gotten more and more advanced, it's only added to the confusion. I mentioned Athos Salome in a video recently, this modern Nostradamus they're calling him. Articles quoting him, videos are about him, but I don't actually think he's a real person. I've never actually seen him speaking in a video, and I kind of have this feeling like he's an AI generated thing. For what purpose? I don't know. I don't even know if I sound out of my mind right now. Again, it's hard to tell sometimes now what's real or an AI generated image. I'll watch videos sometimes now and have this weird feeling sometimes not knowing whether a narrator is an actual person behind a mic or a computer with a really convincing human voice. And speaking of articles, who the hell knows what's been written by a person or artificial intelligence? And at the rate things are going, it's just gonna get harder and harder to tell.
It's no secret that AI is taking over our jobs, our art, and our communications. It's everywhere, and while it's helpful for now, if it continues progressing at its current rate, it could be debilitating. I mean, remember WALL-E? Humans are designed to function. We need to learn and move to thrive. As our reliance on AI increases, our basic human skills decrease. Not only that, but our knowledge decreases. I mean, we're seeing it happen in schools already. Kids are choosing to turn to sites like ChatGPT to write their papers rather than actually learn the material themselves. And it's happening in professional settings too. Lawyers have been caught using AI to assist with case law, a dangerous precedent. Not only that, but the AI cited made-up cases, which the lawyer in question never thought to actually verify, and he used them in court. As we become more reliant on these models, we become more complacent, less quizzical, and much lazier. Every day it's looking more and more like humanity is eventually going to give up on the truth and the quest for knowledge, and therefore abandon their autonomy completely, allowing AI to take over society as a whole.
AI adding to distrust and confusion actually has the potential to get pretty dangerous too. Like, look how convincing deepfakes are getting. Digitally manipulating someone's likeness to make them look like someone else isn't a new thing really, but deepfake technology is. Deepfaking is a much more advanced technology that uses machine learning and artificial intelligence to convincingly change someone's face into someone completely different. We see it used mostly for fun right now, like people really like adding Arnold Schwarzenegger to movies that he doesn't belong in, for example. Which, I mean, hey, I get it. Arnie's great, I love Arnie. But when you add the voice technology in there too, it gets pretty uncanny. And sure, it's all fun and games right now, but it's not hard to imagine the bad places this can go. Convincing AI and deepfake technology can be used to create false narratives, create a video of someone you don't like committing a crime they didn't do, for example, or use deepfake and voice technology to have a politician declare war on another nation. The dangerous uses for this technology really outweigh the good, because, I mean, the whole purpose of deepfaking is to create something that tricks people, to warp reality into something that it isn't. And I don't think the dangers of that are worth the surface level novelty of just replacing one actor in a movie with another one. Is that really worth it?
Another Bard prediction is up next, and this time it's about using biotechnology to improve the human body. Earlier this year, we saw the first implantation of Elon Musk's Neuralink technology, in which a chip was implanted into the cerebral cortex of the receiver. Since the day of operation, the patient is said to have fully recovered and is now able to control a computer mouse using only their thoughts. Bard believes such practices will become more and more common as the year progresses and in the years that follow, saying that along with direct communication between the human brain and computer systems, advances in biocompatible materials and robotic engineering could lead to bionic limbs that restore near natural motor function or even surpass human limitations of strength and dexterity. While this is all good and well, the presumed prices for these upgrades create quite an ethical dilemma, where we would likely see a significant increase in the capabilities or quality of life of members of the higher financial status, while those on the lower end of the class scale would lack access to such advancements. Not only that, but I don't really trust AI all that much, so I really wouldn't want a computer chip in my brain that connects to any device AI could possibly gain access to. While we are on the subject of implementing biotechnology, let's take a look at one of AI's predictions of what humans might come to look like in just 1,000 years. If you are unsure of the connection between the two, let's take a look at these images generated by AI program Midjourney when asked to create a few photos showing off what it believes humans will look like by the year 3024. Looking at these images, I really feel like Midjourney has been spending a lot of time talking to Bard, as it seems as though they are really on the same page when it comes to the implementation of biotechnology on a large-scale level. The humans in these photos almost seem as though they are being consumed by technology, with wires, dials, and motors coming out of almost every surface of their skin, their wide, lifeless eyes, and dead expression. Honestly, when I see things like this, it really makes me want to buy a farm in the middle of nowhere and live off the land as far away from any technology as possible, but that's coming from the girl whose job title is literally a YouTuber, but we don't need to get into the logic of it all. Moving on, we have another prediction made by the Anthropic AI model Claude. In a conversation with the chatbot, Claude began to explain that recently AI algorithms have been able to match or even exceed human performance when it comes to specialized tasks, including object recognition, game playing, and language processing. Due to the high volume of investments and research into AI models, Claude also predicts that it is not long before we begin to see AGI, artificial general intelligence programs, which will have the ability to match human human levels of flexibility and adaptability while completing tasks in different environments, all while surpassing human intelligence levels. Oh, but that's not all. Claude also warned that when this happens, it is highly likely that AI systems will begin to behave unpredictably, possibly without limitations. Along with this, it is predicted that because of these advancements, AGIs will begin outpacing humans in the workforce, leaving thousands, if not millions, without jobs. Alright, next we have an AI with the ability to predict crime with an accuracy of 80 to 90%. These predictions are made based on criminal infraction reports, police logs, and current events. While this has proved controversial within a few states in which the program has been implemented, the program has allowed sociologists to take a closer look at the relationship between policing and crime, allowing for an in-depth analysis of statistical biases that occur in the law enforcement field, whether they be due to race, gender, religion, economic status, or other factors. It really isn't known what kind of effect this might have on the future of crime and crime prevention. However, two options stand out. Option 1, we successfully lower the crime rate. Option 2, we push criminals into the shadows and therefore expose them to more heinous crimes. The occurrence of such crimes rises while the occurrence of smaller acts decreases. What do you guys think about this one? And finally, to finish off our list today, we've got one more Mid-Journey AI generated photograph, and this one is a selfie. Cute, right? Well, not really, because it's not just any selfie, it is what the AI model predicts will be the world's last selfie. And it appears as though it's being taken in front of a backdrop of complete global destruction. The man in the photo, who would have captured the image, appears to have a red stained face and crooked eyes with a scared expression. Behind him, we see fire and ruin, along with explosions, clouds of smoke, and what appears to be a strange artist's rendition of a replica of Earth floating in the sky above. I'm not sure if this is supposed to be nuclear destruction, solar collapse, an alien invasion, or all three, but either way, I really hope I never have to find out.